every week we are discussing about the most important current affairs of that week. So the current affairs, the most important current affairs for the July 3rd, which are in the news, we should not read everything. The most important in UPSC way, in UPSC format, that particular current affairs we need to discuss. So third week July current affairs is what? So today nearly 14 to 15 current affair topics I am going to discuss, which are very much in news and we can expect from these topics for the prelims 2022 as well as prelims 2021 also. How it is useful for prelims 2022? The basics are important. For example, Pegasus, it is a spyware. What is spyware? We need to know. What is malware? We need to know. What is Trojan? What is virus? Everything have a different meaning, different context, that we need to understand. In prelims also we can expect for the 2021, which is going to happen in October 10th. So the first topic which is there is adjournment motion. Shiromani Akali Dal, a political party once upon a time, which is a part of BJP government, NDA government. They left the coalition of NDA, they left the coalition of BJP only because as a criticism or as against their opinion towards the farmers' laws. So this Shiromani Akali Dal had came forward with an opinion to have an adjournment motion in this monsoon session. In the monsoon session of parliament, the Shiromani Akali Dal want to conduct or want to have a adjournment motion. Adjournment motion is similar to censure motion. That means dislike towards the government action, criticism against the government action, or disapproval of the government policy, disapproval of the government act. So the Shiromani Akali Dal has decided to move an adjournment motion. This is a symbol of Shiromani Akali Dal, a political party of Punjab. On the controversial farmer laws, Essential Commodities Act, Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce, Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020, Farmers Empowerment and Protection, Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020, the Essential Commodities Act 2020. Against these three laws, the Shiromani Akali Dal want to move a adjournment motion. So what is important for prelims? What is adjournment motion, sir? What is important for prelims means adjournment motion means what? Adjournment motion means disrupting the functioning of the parliament, for which a motion will be passed, initiation will be done by 50 members. So 50 member parliamentarians will be moving a resolution for adjournment motion. Why? It is an urgent importance. The government should look into it, the parliament should look into it. The farmer three laws are against the wish of the farmers, are against the development of the farmers. So no one is bothering. So I want to stop the parliament session in official way, in a legal way, by this adjournment motion. Adjournment motion is introduced only in the Lok Sabha. Why? Because only people's leader. Who are the people's leader? Who are the representatives of the constituencies? The Lok Sabha. House of the people is Lok Sabha. So this adjournment motion can be moved only in the Lok Sabha but not in the Rajya Sabha. Why? Because the people's representatives are sitting in the Lok Sabha. So they want to move this adjournment motion as the people of our constituency are against this particular act or this particular policy. So only in Lok Sabha. It involves an element of censure against the government. Therefore, Rajya Sabha is not permitted to make use of this. Why? Because Rajya Sabha is having no role in the formation of the government. The Lok Sabha, the majority in the Lok Sabha are responsible for the formation of the government, but not the majority in the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha has no role in the formation of the government. So it should be passed only in the Lok Sabha, and the adjournment motion is only relevant or related to the Lok Sabha. It is regarded as an extraordinary device as it interrupts the normal business of the house, it needs the support of 50 members to be admitted. If 50 members give their permission, give their approval, yes, we want an adjournment motion, then it can be admitted. The discussion on this motion should last for not less than 2 hours and 30 minutes. So, adjournment motion means we are unhappy. We are unhappy. We want to disrupt the business. We want to disrupt the functioning of the Lok Sabha. How? By discussing that particular aspect. Only that aspect we have to discuss, which is of public importance. So, all other discussions will be kept aside. Only that particular aspect will be decided, will be discussed. That is called as adjournment motion. To bring the attention of the Lok Sabha, to bring the attention of the nation, that is called as adjournment motion. Second, National Mission for Clean Ganga. It is also in the news. A national mission was being constituted for two things. One is abatement of pollution, means no more pollution in the Ganga river. No more pollution in the Ganga river, and for the rejuvenation of the Ganga river. Two things. Whatever the pollution is there, that pollution need to be removed, and second thing is to rejuvenate the Ganga river. So, the National Mission for Clean Ganga in this 36th Executive Committee has approved new projects for rejuvenation of 6 rivers in Uttarakhand. That is the reason I am discussing. 36th Executive Committee meeting happened few days back, 4 days back. In that meeting, they came to a conclusion that we are going to rejuvenate the 6 sub-rivers of the Ganga, the tributaries of the Ganga in the Uttarakhand. So, what are those 6 sub-rivers, or what is this National Mission for Clean Ganga? The project shall cover 6 polluted river stretches in the Kumaon regions, 6 polluted tributaries of the Ganga, so that the pollution or the polluted water which is coming into the mainstream will be stopped. So, what conclusion we did means the 6 tributaries of the Ganga which are getting polluted will be stopped from now. It is a registered society on 2011 under the Societies Registration Act of 1860, means a society will be taking care about this National Mission for Clean Ganga. What are its duties? Mainly its duty is, it acted as the implementation arm of the National Ganga River Basin Authority, which was constituted under the Environment Protection Act. So, it acts as a implementation arm. Implementation, what are all the policies made by the National Ganga River Basin Authority will be implemented by this National Mission for Clean Ganga. So, this National Mission for Clean Ganga is an implementing body. Who will be implementing? A society will be formed according to the rules framed in the society, it will be implemented. And who will make the targets? The National Ganga River Basin Authority will be making the targets, and it will be implemented by the National Mission on Clean Ganga. And now under the 36th meeting which held 3 to 4 days back, they came to a conclusion that 6 polluted tributaries of the Ganga river will be rejuvenated. That is the main intention of the thing which happened 4 to 5 days. Means you have to remember what is this National Mission for Clean Ganga. The National Mission for Clean Ganga, or the National Mission on Clean Ganga, is a society which is an implementation arm of the National Mission for Ganga River Basin Authority. Namami Gange project. There is a project or the program by the NDA government. When they came into power in 2014, they came up with a program called as Namami Gange. Gange will be, or the Ganga river will be protected. The Ganga river will be abatement of the pollution, rejuvenation of the river will be happening. Namami Gange, like a scheme it is. It is an integrated conservation mission approved as a flagship program by the Union government. See, 2014, when immediately the government was being formed by the BJP government, they came up with a scheme called as Namami Gange. Their major motto for this Namami Gange program is to clean the river Ganga. To clean the river Ganga. To accomplish the twin objectives of effective abatement of pollution and conservation and rejuvenation of national river Ganga. Two objectives are there for this Namami Gange as well as the National Mission for clean Ganga. Abatement of pollution means pollution should be removed, pollution should be reduced, and the rejuvenation of the river Ganga. It is being operated under the Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. Under this ministry, yes. Sometimes not now, 4, 5, 6 years back some questions were been there. This program is implemented by which ministry? This program comes under which department? Like budget. Like the budget division comes under which department? Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance. Such type of questions were being expected. So that is the reason you have to know that Namami Gange project, National Mission on Clean Ganga, will be implemented by the Ministry of Jal Shakti, by the Department of Water Resources, Water Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. The program is being implemented by the National Mission for Clean Ganga and its state counterpart organizations like state program management groups. It's a federal in structure. Not only central government, central and state both will cooperate and will implement this Namami Gange project. The National Mission for Clean Ganga is the implementation wing of National Ganga River, National Ganga Council set in 2016, which replaced the National Ganga River Basin Authority. Earlier, simple, the National Ganga River Basin Authority which was been there, it was been replaced by the National Ganga Council. Earlier, the National Mission for Clean Ganga was the implementation of an arm of the National Ganga River Basin Authority. Now this is been dismantled and National Ganga Council came into existence, and now also it is the implementation agency of this National Ganga Council. So prelims point of view, National Ganga River Basin Authority is existing today? No. In place of National Ganga River Basin Authority, what came into existence means National Ganga Council. So this National Ganga Council will be finding or founding the objectives for the cleaning of the river Ganga. So the targets, the objectives which are made in the National Ganga Council will be implemented by whom? National Mission on Clean Ganga. And the Namami Gange program is a different program which is mainly executed by the center and state together in order to clean the Ganga. It has a rupees 20,000 crore centrally funded non-lapsable corpus and consists of nearly 288 projects in order to clean the Ganga. The National Ganga Council is headed by the Prime Minister of India. He will be directly looking into the cleaning of the Ganga. The main pillars of the program are sewage. The drainage waters are entering into the Ganga river. Sewage treatment infrastructure, industrial effluent monitoring. Why? Because industrial wastes are entering into the Ganga river. Riverfront development and river surface cleaning, biodiversity and afforestation, public awareness. These are the main pillars of National Mission on Clean Ganga. National Mission on Clean Ganga. Why we are discussing about this? Because 36th Executive Committee meeting was being conducted 3 days back. So they came to conclusion. What is the outcome? What is the conclusion? Means they came to a conclusion that 6 territories of the Ganga river in Kumaon hills of Uttarakhand will be cleaned. Abatement of pollution will take place in these 6 rivers which are combining with the Ganga river. So they are coming up with the National Mission on Clean Ganga to clean these 6 rivers under the National Ganga Council. Third thing which happened, the third current affair is Udan scheme. The government want to provide that at a very cheaper rates, they want to make accessible airlines flying on the airs. So now Udan 4 was being planned. Udan 4 was being planned in last week, which mainly targeting northeastern states by making the air travel through helicopters, by making air travels through sea landers in the Bay of Bengal. So that is the Udan. The government has announced new flights under the Udan scheme to connect small cities with the metros, original Udan. The flights utilizes less used airports in the country and seeks to offer affordable flights to the people of the country. The center plans to operationalize 100 unreserved and underserved airports and start at least 1000 air routes under the regional connectivity scheme called as UDAN scheme. उड़े देश का आम नागरिक, उड़ान, उड़े देश का आम नागरिक. So mainly the objective of the UDAN scheme is to make the people of the mainly to make the public, common public, to fly at affordable prices. That is a major intention. That is a major intention of. So about UDAN scheme, the scheme is aimed at enhancing connectivity across the regions. It is a key component of Centre's National Civil Aviation Policy, which was been designed in 2016. Mainly it is functional by the joint venture of central government and state government. It will be in action till 10 years, means till 2026 they want to make accessible to the common man the flying. So what is the current affair, sir? This is the current affair. UDAN 4. So I gave you the background. In 2016 the UDAN scheme was been there. उड़े देश का आम नागरिक, उड़े देश का आम नागरिक, so that there will be an accessibility for the common man to fly under UDAN 4. So UDAN 1, UDAN 2, UDAN 3 we already have. Now we have UDAN 4 in the year 2021. Focusing on who? Focusing on northeastern region. Special focus is on northeastern region. The fourth round of UDAN was launched in 2019 with a special focus on northeastern states, hilly states and islands. So now under UDAN 4, the operation of helicopters was being introduced in 2021. So up to now only we were been targeting on development of infrastructure like airports, airlines, aeroplanes, but for the first time we are introducing helicopters. Only helicopters? No. Seaplanes is also been incorporated. So either by the Bay of Bengal route or either by the rivers where the seaplanes will be incorporated. So 2019 we started focusing on the northeastern region by the UDAN 4, but it got triggered last week. Why? Because aeroplane and construction of airlines infrastructure, construction of airport infrastructure is not suitable for all the times. So now we are focusing on the helicopters, now we are focusing on the seaplanes also, so that the regional connectivity between the people will become easy. The regional connectivity in the region will become easy. India self-reliance for renewable energy manufacturing. Now, Atmanirbhar. Self-reliance is called as Atmanirbhar. So, energy, power sector, Atmanirbhar, self-reliance. So when we will become self-reliant? When we are producing the renewable energy. Thermal power or nuclear power, these are non-renewable energies, conventional energies. By consuming, the mineral resources will come down. So we need to focus on sustainability. What is the sustainability? The solar energy. What is the sustainability? The wind energy. What is the sustainability? Green hydrogen energy, green ammonia energy. So now we are aspiring for self-reliant energy sector, Atmanirbhar energy sector. For that Atmanirbhar energy sector, self-reliant energy sector, we are coming up with this India's self-reliance for renewable energy manufacturing. CII had recently organized a conference on Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliance for renewable energy manufacturing. Last week it happened. So, what is the takeaway prelims point of view means the focus on renewable energy is increasing not from the government point of view, from the corporate point of view. Confederation of Indian Industries, CII, Confederation of Indian Industries are also focusing on manufacturing more renewable energy. Like what? Solar photovoltaic cells, solar panels, wind turbines, manufacturing green hydrogen, which I mentioned in the July 2nd week current affair. What is green hydrogen, green ammonia? These all are renewable sources. Production of hydrogen gas by the organic waste is called as green hydrogen. India had one of the fastest rates of growth of renewable energy capacity in India. In the Conference of Party 2021, Paris, that by 2030 we promised that. In the Conference of Parties 21, we told that by 2030 we are going to reach 40% of contribution to the total power sector by renewable energy. We planned it. So how to reach it? By the renewable energy sources. By reaching the renewable, so set a target of 450 gigawatts, of which already 200 gigawatts we reached, focusing on green hydrogen, focusing on green opinion. So the takeaway is, for the first time the corporate is focusing on renewable energy manufacturing. So up to now only the government focused, now the private industries are also focusing. That is the takeaway. Universal access by connecting every village and every hamlet. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grama Jyoti Yojana scheme, providing electricity. Saubhagya scheme, providing electricity to each household. How? By the renewable energy. It was the fastest and the largest expansion of access in the world. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grama Jyoti Yojana, Vidyutikarana, electrification of all the villages. Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grama Jyoti Yojana, provide for electrification of all the villages, feeder separation to ensure sufficient power to farmers, improvement of sub-transmission. These all now we are targeting and we are linking this Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grama Jyoti Yojana, we are linking with renewable energy. So in villages the electricity should be linked with the renewable energy feeders. That is what the resolution which is taken by the Confederation of Indian Industries, CII. So this CII last week they came to a conclusion that the renewable energy manufacturing will be happen at a corporate level. Just think, if corporate centers into the renewable energy, then the renewable energy will flourish like anything. So the corporates can be entered. The corporates can be entered. If they can be entered, then 100% the renewable energy source will be increasing, and they are also planning to electrify all the villages by using this renewable energy. Women reservation bill, another important one. Again it came into the news, women reservation bill, 33% reservation for women. For the first time in 2008, a bill was being placed in the Rajya Sabha. And it was being passed in the Rajya Sabha, it went to the Lok Sabha, but in 2009 when the government came to an end, it lapsed in the Lok Sabha. By that time onwards till today, no more movement in the reservation of women in the parliament. No movement of reservation for women in the parliament. From where it started? By 1992 and 1993, when in Panchayati Raj 33% reservation is provided to women, and in urban local bodies 33% reservation is provided. From that day onwards, there is a demand for providing 33% reservations in law-making bodies like legislative assemblies and parliament. So now fresh, in the monsoon session, the fresh demand for the 33% reservation came into picture. The parties are demanding that we need to pass a law so that in the law-making bodies, the 33% should be reserved for the women. The bill seeks to reserve 33% seats in Lok Sabha and all the state legislative assemblies for women. So again it resurfaced. So we should have the opinion. We should build opinion whether we have to give 33% reservation for women or we should not give 33% reservation for women. Why? Because it is again resurfaced in the parliament in the monsoon session. So it is in the current affair. Conjugal rights before Supreme Court, very interesting. Conjugal rights means wife and husband staying together. Conjugal rights means wife and husband staying together is called as conjugal rights. So there is something called as restitution of conjugal rights. Restitution of conjugal rights means if husband doesn't wish to stay with wife, or if wife doesn't wish to stay with husband, if husband doesn't wish to stay with wife or wife doesn't wish to stay with husband, then legally husband can file a petition in the court asking for what? Restitution of conjugal rights. My wife is not staying with me, or my husband is not staying with me, he is staying in some other place, so please maintain our conjugal rights, please have a society, maintain a society is called as restitution of conjugal rights. Restitution of conjugal rights means reinitiation of staying together is called as conjugal rights. Conjugal rights means nothing but husband and wife staying together is called as conjugal rights. Husband and wife staying like a society is called as conjugal rights in a single residence. Sometimes when the husband doesn't stay with the wife or wife doesn't stay with husband, the husband will be filing a petition in the court that my husband is not in the society with me, or my wife is not in society with me, so I will file a petition called as restitution of conjugal right under section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act talks about restitution of conjugal rights so that the husband and wife will stay together. So the conjugal rights before Supreme Court it vented. The Supreme Court is expected to begin hearing a fresh challenge, the provision allowing restitution of conjugal rights under Hindu personal laws. Yes. Yes. What are conjugal rights? Section 9 of Hindu Marriage Act of 1955 deals with the restitution of conjugal rights. Conjugal rights are rights created by marriage, I told you, wife and husband. That is right of the husband or the wife to society of the other spouse. Staying together in a single residence is called as. Section 9 of Hindu Marriage Act recognizes one aspect of conjugal right, the right to consortium, the right to stay together. If they are not going to stay, then we can file a petition. So the current affair is, some of the women filed in the Supreme Court, it is my right to life and liberty. I don't want to stay with my husband, but my husband is filing restitution of conjugal rights. It is violation of my liberty. Court, you are forcefully making me to stay with my husband. If I stay with my husband, I am staying unhappy, I am dissatisfied. So now the Supreme Court will be looking into the constitutionality of the section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, whether it is a compulsion that wife and husband should stay together, or it is not a compulsion, it is according to their liberty to stay together. The next is Mekadatu project, which is located here on the borders of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. The Karnataka is planning to construct a dam here. So when the dam is constructed here, the water will stop. The water will not flow into the Tamil Nadu. They will construct a dam here. So what will happen? The water will come and store here. It will not go beyond it. So Tamil Nadu will not get the Kaveri water. And they want to use this Mekadatu project to pump the water to the Bangalore city. So this Mekadatu is a project which is mainly planned to stop the water to enter into the Tamil Nadu and use the water for Bangalore city. So the central government had stopped it. The central government gave a notification to the Karnataka government, don't continue with the project. Still that time you get a clearance from Kaveri Water Board. The center has given its assurance that Karnataka will not be allowed to carry out any construction on the Mekadatu project, on the Kaveri river unit, until a detailed project report is submitted by the Karnataka government to this. Then only we will give the permission to the Mekadatu project. So what is the Mekadatu project? Mekadatu project is a contentious project between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. And the project is aiming for what? To pump the water into Bangalore city for drinking water supply. That is Mekadatu project. So this, at the confluence of the rivers Ganga and its tributary Arkavati, river Kaveri, river Kaveri and Arkavati. So the tributary of the river and the Arkavati both are coming together and they are joining together at Mekadatu, so they want to construct the dam. Issues surrounding. The project aims to store and supply water for drinking purpose for the Bengaluru city. Around 400 megawatts of power is also proposed to be generated through this project. Now the Tamil Nadu is against it. You are stopping the water. You are stopping the water which is entering into the Tamil Nadu by constructing a dam. We are totally against it. So the government, central government also worried that it might revisit the conflict between the Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, which was very severe in 1980s and 1990s. So immediately the central government gave an order to the Karnataka government to stop the construction of dam of Mekadatu. However, Tamil Nadu objected, saying that the project would affect the flow of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. So there is Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal. The judgment with respect to continuation of this Mekadatu project will be decided by the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal. Israeli spyware, Pegasus. We have to know very detail regarding this. What is this spyware? Tomorrow on this issue, a detailed video will be made. What is spyware, what is malware, what is virus, what is Trojan, varieties of this foreign who are imbibing into our computer systems, which are imbibing into our critical infrastructure, in detail will be discussed tomorrow. So this is just the beginning, and tomorrow in detail video will be made. So the continued use of spyware Pegasus, which an Israeli company sells to government worldwide, has been confirmed with fresh reports. Like they are targeting some of the government websites, they are targeting some of the ministries, critical infrastructure. So what is this? What is a Pegasus, a spyware? In detail we will be discussing about this tomorrow. Why? Because expected prelims question this time. What is the monkey bee virus? Monkey bee virus is a enjutic virus. Enjutic virus. What is this enjutic virus? What is this enjutic virus? Enjutic virus means the spread of the disease. The spread of the disease in a particular region, in a particular time between the animals is called as enjutic diseases. Very quick spread happens between the animals. Very quick spread will happen between the animals. That quick spread between the animals in a particular region, in a particular time period is called as enzutic. So this monkey bee virus is a virus which is affecting a particular animals called as monkey. And now why it is in the news means this monkey bee virus also, from monkeys it spread into human beings. China has reported the first human infection with monkey bee virus. Everything will happen in China only, and this also happened in China. Monkey bee virus, which is a virus which is moving around the monkeys, have entered the man. The first case was identified in 1932. The virus is learned to have affected only 50 people till 2020, of which 21 died. It is an alpha herpes virus enzootic in macaques of the genus, yes, Macaca. Yes. It is first identified in 1932 in monkeys, but is learned to have infected only 15 people till 2020. So it got 1932, it was been found in the monkeys, but in the year 2020, the spread started. From 2020, the spread started in human beings in China. And we identified it is monkey bee virus in 2021. We concluded, out of which 21 people already died. That means they could not understand why the people are dying. When the coronavirus happened, till 1 month, 2 months, we don't know in China, well, the spread is happening, what is that virus? In the same way, under the carpet, the disease was been spreading till 2020. In 2021, we came to a conclusion that this is monkey bee virus, which is spread from monkey to human beings. By the time 21 people died, means what is the percentage of mortality? 40% mortality. The chance of death is very high. B virus is the only identified old world monkey herpes virus that displays severe pathogenicity in human beings. There are no vaccines that can protect against this monkey bee virus. So, because of which the deaths are happening. So, prelims point of view, monkey bee virus is a herpes virus which mainly affects the sexual organs of the human being. Mainly affects the sexual organs of the human being, which is spread from monkeys to human beings. The human beings who are in contact with the monkeys have also contacted this monkey bee virus. The mortality rate is very high, 40% is the mortality rate. And in 2020, very recently, we observed that yes, the human beings are also getting contacted with diseases. The infection can be transmitted via direct contact and exchange of bodily secretions of monkey. Flu-like symptoms, fever, infected person may develop small blisters in the wound or area on the body that came in contact with the monkey. There is infection includes shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, hiccups, as well as the sexual organs will get affected because of this monkey bee virus. Part of Constitution inserted by 97th Amendment got quashed, means what happened? 97th Constitutional Amendment Act had created cooperative societies. 13th schedule of the Constitution was cooperative societies. But the Supreme Court very recently had quashed this cooperative societies, a part of the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, saying that the cooperative societies are, or the cooperative societies can be amended by the states. But the central government, by a Constitutional Amendment Act of 1997, they made cooperative societies. They gave the constitutional status to the cooperative societies. Hence, we are quashing that part of the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, which is limiting the powers of the state. So, the cooperatives are the part of the state government. So, without the involvement of the state government, the central government made a 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, which added cooperative societies to the Constitution of India. Hence, it is in the news. The Supreme Court, in 2:1 majority verdict, upheld the validity of the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, but struck down a part inserted by it which relates to the constitution and working of the cooperative society. Simple. A part of this cooperative societies was been removed by the Supreme Court, saying that the central government by the Constitutional Amendment Act entered into the ambit of state government. Why? Because the cooperatives are the part of state list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. Struck it down. It is a state subject. Speedy trial a fundamental right. High Court. Yes. You know, the trial is very late. Very slow process, the trials. So, very recently the High Court told that the speedy trial is also a fundamental right. For the first time, the fundamental rights came into picture by the Magna Carta in 1215 AD in Britain, whereby the King John was being conditioned that the government will run according to the law but not according to the men, and the protection of the individual liberty is the paramount for the king. 1215, a charter was being prepared which is called as Magna Carta, that became Bill of Rights in United States of America. The same became the fundamental rights for Indian Constitution. In that Indian Constitution, the High Court interpreted that speedy trial speedy trial is also part of fundamental right under Article 21. Speedy trial is also part of, yes, that is, I didn't do any mistake, but because of slow process of trial, I am suffering. I didn't do any mistake, but I am suffering because of the slow process of the trial. So please make it speed trial so that my innocence will come out. So society will know that very quickly that I am innocent, I am not guilty. Yes, it's a fundamental right. In the Bhima Koregaon caste violence case, highlighting the issue of under trials, the Supreme Court has said that the speedy trial is a fundamental right, which is also reiterated by the High Court also. Earlier Supreme Court told, now High Court also reiterated the same. Charges are not framed in the case, many witnesses are still being examined, they are languishing in the jail without trial. Under trials. So, for under trials, there is a need for a remedy. What is that remedy means? Speedy trial. So, speedy trial is a fundamental right. The main aim of the right of speedy trial is to inculcate justice in the society, to imbibe the confidence among the people with respect to judiciary. It was the first mentioned in the landmark document of what? Magna Carta, English law, Magna Carta. In Indian Constitution also, under Article 21, the Supreme Court had interpreted that, yes, speedy trial is also a fundamental right. National Health Mission, which was been started in 2013, it amalgamated National Rural Health Mission plus National Urban Health Mission, together called as National Health Mission, which came into existence from 2013. The National Rural Health Mission was been started in 2005, and whereas National Urban Health Mission was been started in 2013, within the same year, this both came together and called as one particular mission, which is called as National Health Mission. So, prelims point of view, we need to know that what are all the part of National Health Mission? Janani Sishu Suraksha Karyakram, Rashtriya Bala Swasthya Karyakram, implementation of free drugs and free diagnostic services initiatives, Prime Minister National Dialysis Program, National Quality Assurance Framework for Public Health, mobile medical units, teleconsultations are also being implemented to improve access to healthcare, Ayushman Bharat, Pradhana Mantri Jana Arogya Yojana. These all are part of this National Health Mission. Prelims point of view. Which of the following is not part of National Health Mission? Which is not there in this are not part of National Health Mission. Why it is current affairs, sir? Recently, the Ayushman Bharat was been added to National Health Mission. That is the reason it is a current affair. Smile scheme by the Ministry of Social Justice. Support for marginalized individuals for livelihood and enterprises. It includes a sub-scheme, central sector scheme for comprehensive rehabilitation of persons engaged in begging. It is a new scheme after the merger of existing schemes for beggar and transgenders, mainly providing livelihood. To whom? Marginalized sections, like who? Beggars, transgenders, orphans. For the use of existing shelter homes within the states of union territories, governments, urban local bodies for rehabilitation of the persons engaged in the act of beggary. So, mainly who are participating in the beggary, mainly who are transgenders, who are forcefully asking the money at the traffic lights, who are orphans, they will be rehabilitated in the rehabilitation homes by this scheme called as SMILE. Rehabilitation, provision of medical facility, counseling, basic documentation, education, skill development, economic linkages are the target of SMILE. Who? Beggars, transgenders, orphans. It will be implemented with the support of states and union territories. SMILE. Stand Up India scheme, which is a vision of the Narendra Modi government. Why is it in the news? It is extended till 2025. The Ministry of Finance has extended the stand-up scheme up to 2025. What is this stand-up scheme? SC, ST, women will be given loans on priority for self-employment opportunities, for entrepreneurship. So the scheme of stand-up scheme was been extended up to 2025. It was started in 2016 to promote entrepreneurship at the grassroots level, focusing on economic empowerment and job creations, mainly SC, ST and women. Facilitate bank loans between the rupees 10 lakh and 1 crore to at least one SC or ST borrower and at least one woman borrower per bank branch of scheduled commercial banks for setting up a greenfield project. Compulsory, every bank should provide one loan either for SC or ST or women per month. So it's a compulsion. So compulsory, what the bank will do? The bank will try to provide the loan to SC or ST or women. In what? In greenfield project. What is greenfield project? Altogether the new project. Altogether the new establishment. So the new women are joining the self-employment. The new SC, ST are joining the self-employment. That is called as stand-up scheme. It's a compulsion on the scheduled commercial. The enterprise may be in manufacturing, services or the trading sector. SC or ST and are women enterprises above 18 years of age. Loans under the scheme are available for only greenfield project. Greenfield project means new project, which is not constrained by prior work. It is constructed on unused land where there is no need to remodel or demolish an existing structure. A new, altogether a new. Borrower should not be in the default to any bank or financial institution earlier. Means his CIBIL score should be high. In case of non-individual enterprises, at least 50% of the shareholding and controlling stakeholder should be held by either SC, ST or women. So stand-up scheme extended till 2025. We started in the year 2016. So every scheduled commercial bank is having a compulsion to provide loan for one SC or ST or one woman compulsory for every bank, for every branch. That is the condition of the stand-up. So these are the things which happened in this 1 week. These are the issues which happened in this 1 week.